Thank you, Arul, for asking me to talk on this topic today. And can you just have a show of hands? So, how many of us are putting implants or planning to put in the next 1 year? Toric lenses. Okay, so more than half of us. So, the ideal candidate is a patient who needs to have an astigmatism correction in his glasses after surgery. So, we're all aware of Warren Hill's data of 6,000 patients in his group practice, saying that around 12% of our patients will have 1.75 or more of cylinder, and this is the target. This is the group which I think will most benefit from torics. So I'll take you through my personal journey, and I made a lot of mistakes, and I will share what I have done so that you can start off without making the same mistakes. So initially I used to correct and put toric lenses based on the printout from the IOL master, and about 70% of my patients were happy. I applied the Baylor nomogram, and about 90% of my patients suddenly became happy. I started looking for irregular astigmatism, and most of my patients, around 95%, are happy today. Today, in the last 6 months, I also strongly back off. I no longer put in with the rule astigmatism of up to 2 cylinders. And now I am very happy. I am not sure about my patients. So stage 1, in the early part, I used to get a printout like this, showing 1.57 cylinder. It's at 59. It's actually an oblique. And I used to start discussing with the patient. Hello, are you interested in a toric? You have cylinder more than 1 in your cornea. And we now know that compared to the IOL master cylinder, the cylinder from the manual keratometer is more accurate when you want to calculate what power to put in the eye. I will be quoting extensively from Warren Hill, and when you have time, please do see his website. We can pick up a lot of information from there. A study was published in the Korean Journal of Ophthalmology where 160 patients were compared with. The first one is auto case. Here you have manual keratometry, and here you have the Pentacam case, and here you have the IOL master K, and they found out how much of residual cylinder they had. It's not much of a difference. All of them had around 0.5, and the difference is only around 0.1. But the manual K has the least amount of difference from 0. So manual Ks are the best, but any K is pretty good. So here's another tip from Warren Hill. Use the manual keratometer to decide the power of the intraocular toric lens that you're going to put inside. So if K1 and K2 are 46 and 44, you are planning to have a toric lens that will correct 2 cylinders in the eye. So this is a basic concept about putting all toric lenses. Stage 2 is application of the Baylor nomogram. So Dirk Koch gave his talk in 2012 in ACRS, and this is a summary of that. See, we all know that the total cylinder is a cylinder in the front of the cornea and in the back of the cornea. When we apply the Baylor nomogram, all eyes have posterior corneal cylinder, and the posterior corneal cylinder will be against the rule in over 95% of our patients. That's all there is to it. The nomogram also states, please try to target a 0.25 or a 0.5 with the rule in all your patients. So assume the back of cornea to be 0.5 against the rule and add this to whatever measurement you get in the front. So you add a plus 0.5 into 180, you add a ATR 0.5 to whatever measurement you get in front. So if you get a 1.75 into 180 against the rule in your patient K reading, then please calculate for a minimum of 2.25 cylinder when you do your toric lens calculation. And same way, if you get a 1.5 with the rule, back of the cornea will have a 0.5, so it becomes a 1. Your surgeon-induced astigmatism will be another 0.2 to 0.5, so it becomes actually 1. You want to leave him with about 0.25 or 0.5. So a 1.5 you don't have to correct. So you apply the Baylor nomogram, and you will find that 90% of your patients will be very happy. I'll repeat the summary slide. So correct the cylinder from the manual keratometer. Please apply the Baylor nomogram. It's as simple as adding 0.5 against the rule. Look at the topography, the big picture, and if you will, strongly back off from with the rule and oblique cylinders. So what Hill says, use the manual keratometer to determine how much of astigmatism to correct, and from his database of several scores of patients or doctors, he found the average SIA of the toric lens implant surgeon is only 0.2. So in the toric calculators, please enter your SIA as 0.2 and you are likely to be correct. So because we take more care, it's likely to be 0 to 0.2. Look at topography, and 95% of your patients will become happy. Why is that? Topo gives the big picture, and we can find out irregular astigmatism and no torics in these patients. If you do topography, you will know the patients where it won't help. So will you put a toric in this patient? And you just see this vertical line here. In this particular patient, if you take any particular axis, the amount of green and the red on both sides don't match. So this is an irregular astigmatism. The axis is like this, the axis is like this, they're skewed. So this patient is not a good candidate for a toric lens. What will you do for this patient? This is the central 3 millimeters. You have equal amounts of cylinder on both sides. So if I do a manual keratometry, I will choose to put a toric. So who all will? Thank you. Great, Ramesh. Thank you. Who else? So most of us who write them, who all won't? Tell me which of us will not put a toric lens in this patient? So if you see this patient, no, 42, 41, 40, this is okay. But look at this. Here 40, here 43, and the lowermost part of the cornea is 48.26. So what's happening here? The answer is in front of us. This patient has got a pellucid marginal degeneration. We've got a crab claw kind of an appearance here. And if this pellucid marginal degeneration is progressive, this 48 come there, where it's now 43, and then it can come there where it's 40. In the next 3 or 4 years, the cylinder can bulge forward and it can come to the central 3 millimeter zone. So this is the kind of patient where it's not advisable to put a toric, and this is why 1 in 20 or 1 in 30, we have to look at the periphery, get the big picture. The manual keratometer is giving us a 3 millimeter picture. So is the 25 lakh topo essential? This is the topography of one of my patients, Dr. Vijay, who's a gold medalist from Madras Medical College. We are treating him for keratoconus. And for this talk, for a similar talk, he agreed to come and show his eye. See, I don't know if you can see this. Can you see this? It's not very circular. Can you switch off the room light? Thank you, sir. If you see his K, it is 50. A normal eye does not have a keratometer reading of 50. So 50, don't put a toric. If you see this, it's slightly flattened here. This is not circular. So all you have to do to find out is make the patient look straight and see the central K. Then ask him to look up at the upper margin of your keratometer, and you can image the peripheral part of the cornea, and you can see the irregularity there. It will give you a very strong indication whether it is a regular cornea or not. Topo is not essential. I said all of you 25 lakhs. Okay? So if you are willing to just make the patient look up, down and to the sides, but I think the lower part is most involved. Just look up. An irregular cornea, no toric for this patient. This happens 1 in 30, 1 in 25 or 1 in 30 patients alone. Another red flag, high Ks, 48, 50, 52. Don't think of toric in those patients. Just because they accept a 7 cylinder on the trial frame, I don't think you should put a toric in the eye. So what it will say is use the manual keratometer to find out how much to enter into the toric calculator. Use 0.2 as your SIA. Use topography to get the steep axis and to exclude poor candidates for toric lenses. Intelligent use of the keratometer will beat out irregular corneas, is what is my personal feeling. Today I no longer put with the rule and obliques because I feel these are eyes which are moving towards against the rule as we age. So when we are born, we are all born with a nice, beautiful, pristine cornea with the rule astigmatism. All of us, they are like that once. As we approach 40, 50 and 60, our cylinder reduces and we become neutral. If you are blessed with long life, inevitably we will age and our eyes will become against the rule. The same eye will go from with to against in a matter of decades, and the progression is 0.47 per 10 years. This is a gentleman whom I first saw in 1990 with 0.5 into 30. When I last saw him in Jan this year, he had plus 2.5 to 170. The axis has become more towards 180 and the amount of cylinder has increased by 2 cylinders. His son had a 0.75 earlier. Today his son doesn't have any corneal cylinder. But if you image his son's cornea, his son is 55, the front of the cornea is with the rule 0.5, back of the cornea is against the rule, ATR 0.5. So his son is shifting from with the rule to against the rule. So if you see up to 2 cylinders and if you leave them alone, probably you will not be making a mistake because many of these eyes are going to shift towards neutral and become against. So Douglas Cock in his 2012 lectures said the same thing. I heard it then, but it took me 3 years to realize the importance. He says up to 1.69 with the rule, no toric. So with the rule up to 1 point and against the rule 0.4, he puts the first toric. So if you have against the rule 0.4, think of your basic toric. If you have with the rule 1.7, don't put a toric. This is an example of with the rule where I will not correct today. I know you can see this number because I definitely can't. But here it is 44 into 180, 46 into 90, and then I'm saying continue. I put an SI of 0.2. Wow, it looks so washed out. Then I'm accepting this, and then we are proceeding. And the Alcon toric calculator, I had no financial interest by the way, tells us to put a lens vertically T5. So if you get a toric calculator where you have to put the lens in a vertical fashion, you are correcting a with the rule cornea. Please back off. Please think twice. Likely to be a young patient, 50, 55. So if you get a vertical orientation of the lens in the eye, it's a with the rule, back off. If you back off 2 steps, you're doing well. So at T7, you can probably put a T4 or T5, but you think about it. My talk is over, but Arul initially asked me to talk about surgery, so I just, if you could permit me, Arul, for 1 minute. 3 surgeries. So this is not mine, this is Kerry Solomon in X rounds. He had a loose bag where he re-rotated the toric lens 3 times, and each time 1 week later it used to turn off. He found it was very loose, so what he did was he did an optic capture by leaving the haptic in the bag, and he popped the optic in front of the capsule. So this is the capsule which is there in front of the optic here and here, and that held the lens. So this is one trick that you can do. If you find you're putting a toric, it's moving around too much, you feel it may not stay in position, just do one anterior optic capture. This is the second patient during surgery, a small PCR. Can you see a small flap here? Who can see a small flap there? So remove the chopper, put in a micro faucets and grab the small. Can you see a small flap there? Is moving there. It's here now. So that's a PCR. So grab it and convert the tear into a PCC. Once you converted that into a PCC, I'm sorry, there's no way they're going to see it with this projector, but those who want can see it in the monitor there. The monitor there. So here the small tear converted into a PCC. And then I put an Orolab hydrophilic toric in this patient. I wanted to place the toric in the anterior chamber and gently tap it in. So I'm gently inserting it into the anterior chamber, and nicely it goes into the capsular bag. If I try to place it in the capsular bag, it has nicely gone into the vitreous. So I just tapped it in, and then I turned it around. So no vitreous loss, and check alignment. So this is the last step when you do a toric. So when you check alignment, see these 2 reflexes. This is from the front of the cornea, the first Purkinje reflex. That is from the front of the lens. So if you align these 2 reflexes together, the patient's eye is aligned to the microscope light. So when you align, what you should do is align these 2 reflexes as much as possible, and then see whether the toric lens is aligned to the corneal mark. So corneal light reflex and eyeball reflexes should be aligned as much as possible, and then you look and see whether the toric lens is aligned to the corneal mark. So the corneal mark is here. I hope next speaker will talk about it. This will stay after long surgery also. It will not get washed off like the usual markers supplied by the trade people. And here we have the lines of the hydrophilic toric lens. So what will you do for a patient with phacodonosis, mild phacodonosis, 87 years old, not dilating well, pseudo exfoliation? He has 3 cylinders. So one option is this: you use iris hooks, dilate the pupil, and do a slow-mo phaco. Then put a Sione ring, thread a 10-0 through the eyelet of the Sione ring. Then make a Hoffman pocket. Do a reverse corneal pocket. There are various ways of doing this, but basically you can stabilize the bag by doing a CTR and suturing it to the sclera. So if you do a reverse corneal pocket that's 2 mm deep, and use a 30 gauge needle to dock the needle and then to deliver the suture out transclerally, Then you can use your chopper or a Kugling hook to go through this pocket and remove the thread, and then you can and then it can be tied up here. So glue is not needed. You save some money for the patient. Conjunctiva is spared in case you want to do a trap, and the suture can just be tucked into the pocket. Then you can put your lens in and you can gently move it around and you can focus it. So you can manage a loose bag also. So in summary, use keratometry values in the online calculator to find out the power of the toric lens. Wow, I know. The second thing is, please use the Baylor nomogram. The third point, please remember, look at the big picture. With the keratometer, image the lower part of the cornea, or you should do a topography. These three things will make 95% of your patients very happy. Thank you.